So this is a fuels project all ready to go for processing a tank of fuel.
So then, that would be your indication of when the filter needs to be replaced, or when you're having to apply too much pressure?
That would be normally the case, but since I backflush my filters with these valves and stuff, then that just says, okay, it's time to backflush the filter.
So you put something on the bottom to flush it?
No, right here, this valve, I open this valve, that connects to this device here. This device is really a copy of this, but instead of holding 20 gallons, it holds 3.5 gallons. And 3.5 gallons of gasoline is just enough to backflush my whole operation.
And then you can cycle that back in.
Right, I push the gasoline backwards through the Y-traps, and then once the gasoline's out of this thing, then I just open these valves and drain it into the bucket, and one flush is enough. It doesn't seem to need multiple flushes.
So what you're saying though is that when you backflush it, it doesn't flush through the filters, it just flushes through, and then the residue from the backflush is removed from each individual.
Well, the sediments stay inside the cartridge, but the gasoline passes through the membrane backwards, pushing particles that are stuck in the membrane back out. And then I start at the 1 micron, or the smallest filters, so that this filter never sees anything dirtier on its clean side than 5 microns. It goes backwards that way. And I need gasoline anyway to thin my stuff, so I might as well, use it to backflush my filters every time I need to make a batch of fuel. These filters get backflushed long before they get plugged up.
So these are a new kind of filter. How
I can't even see the last stuff is so dark.
On these kind of filters, how many tanks do you think you could get?
Before I started backflushing, I had for these 3 filters, and it was 50, 20, and 5 microns, and the filters would be full after only about 15 gallons, and I'd have to take them right up to the threshold of the pressure specifications to get 30 gallons through them. So when I started backflushing them, according to the manufacturer of the filter, you can backflush these filters indefinitely. They'll last, there's no... I assume theoretically they'll wear out someday, but, I could probably get a decade or 2 out of them first. Okay, so now I'm going to drain my filters because I don't like to leave the solvent working on the filter membrane because it destroyed my previous set of filters. So I'm going to go ahead and drain them from now on immediately after filtering a tank of fuel. So I have valves at the bottom of each one of these filters, and the valve is here. I had to drill and tap the filter canister for 1/4-inch national pipe thread so that I could mount these ball valves in the bottom of the filters. So here now I'm going to open the ball valve and drain the filter. And draining the filter extracts the mass, the sediments out of the filter, and also, of course, removes the solvent from the inside of the canister to keep the solvent from damaging the filter membrane and also the canister itself. And I can also inspect, since I have clear filter canisters now, I can now visually inspect my filters to see if they're degrading from the various solvents in here. This filter wants to drip. Okay, that wants to drip a little bit more. Okay, so now we're going to drain the next one. Each canister holds about a half a gallon. And since I have 3 canisters, it's a gallon and a half, plus my 2 Y traps, they hold about a half a gallon as well. So ultimately I end up with about 2.5 gallons of sludge that I drain from my filters. This canister leaked a little bit around the O-ring, so I'm going to try tightening that up by hand and hope that eliminates the leak. If not, I'll have to probably buy a new O-ring. See the new O-ring, and I'm using, by the way, Biton O-rings for my filters. These are originally designed to be water filters, but they're actually designed to filter almost anything. And in industry, almost anything is filtered. My goal is not to have any leaks in this process. All right, so the third, this is the 5 micron filter I'm draining. And since this whole apparatus is vented right now, I don't have to pressurize it to drain the sediment. I just open the valve and it just comes out. Okay, and the bucket is now almost full, and the bucket holds, I think, about 2 gallons. Filter membranes look good. The seals didn't deteriorate, so I think it's going to be a good process, and these filters should last indefinitely. It's always good to have rags on hand for this too. Okay. Next will be the Y traps. I have 2 Y traps right here. This is 40 mesh and this is 80 mesh. And they're the first step out of the tank. Okay, so this is where I drain the Y traps. And what I did is I put hose barb fittings on a vent on the Y traps, and then I put a hose on it, another hose barb fitting on a ball valve, and then a elbow and a plug. Now I can open up the valve and drain my Y traps. That dribbles. All right, that's good enough. Okay. Oh, always good to have the rag handy. Nasty business. Okay. Okay. Other Y trap, 80 mesh. draining the Y traps and the filters after each batch of fuel to be filtered. And then if I was going to create another batch of fuel, I'd need 20% of that to be gasoline to thin out the oil anyway. So I would use that gasoline to back flush my Y traps and my filters, which would be a repeat of this process that I just showed you, but with clean gasoline going backwards through the filters. And then I drain them off, and that'd be good enough for backflushing to process another 20 gallons of fuel, no problem.